Well, good evening. Um, Today the Who's in Sydney were on at Warwick Farm. I've been up and down the highway I had 4 meetings in a row. There was a meeting on Wednesday at Newcastle, it was an ATC meeting. And then we had, of course, Wyong on Thursday, Canterbury on last night, Friday night, and of course Warwick Farm today. Just very quickly on the other meetings, Newcastle on Wednesday, the track was upgraded from a dead 4 to a good 3. There was a very solid breeze, northeasterly northeasterly, which didn't have any effect on the runners. The rail was 6 metres out at Newcastle, and even though there were the first runner came from well back in the field, it was on the fence before they turned for home, and it switched around heels and made up plenty of ground and got there on the line. But if you were trapped wide in the run, it was a disadvantage. The fence at Newcastle, there were leaders that won, and things are slid through on the fence and saved ground. It was an advantage to be near the fence. And out of the meeting, look, there's nothing that was out of the ordinary. It was a very, very ocean meeting. Not many players there at all, and there was nothing out of the meeting that you'd be wanting to jump onto next start, and there were no real hard luck stories either. On the Thursday we went to Wyong, and early in the piece, well, for a start, the track very similar to Newcastle. After the first or maybe the second race, it was also upgraded from a dead to a good track. The rail at Wyong on Thursday was in the normal position, and again the wind, it fluctuated the wind from a northeasterly to a southeasterly, and which didn't have any effect. And it looked a little bit as if the fence could have been a little bit iffy earlier on. It turned out not to be the case, and you could win on the fence. You could lead. There were 2 leaders that won, and you could also run on from behind. The track inside through them, down the outside, the track played fairly fair, or very fair, and similar to Newcastle. At Wyong on the Thursday, there was nothing out of the that you'd be saying that'll just about win again next start. There were plenty of races where there were very little margins between a lot of runners when they crossed the line in a lot of the races. And as I say, there were no hard luck stories. The interesting thing about the meeting at Wyong was that you might look at the results and you say, well, gee whiz, the captains had they had a fat day, the captains. Well, very quickly, for a start, only 2 pros turned up, and someone did comment to me that they say, when you do your show tonight, Gary, I think you should point out that I think there were more horses here today at Wyong than there were patrons. It was very, very thin on the ground, and there were 9 races for a start at Wyong, and some big fields. So there's a good chance there might have been more horses than players in the marketplace in the ring. Well, of course, there's no betting there, is there? It was just a ghost town. You can drive a semi-trailer through there and not hit anybody most of the time. And in that first race, the Avery Crimson Arrow, it went from, we put it up a 2-to-1 on chance, which feeling the water. We put up plenty of percentage in the first race at Wyong, but we got down to only, well, on the flux screen there, we'll tell you straight away, it was only 97.3. We got underneath that. And the favourite in the first race, Crimson Arrow, went from $1.50 to $2.40, didn't have a price. In the second race, the favourite, again, I think this is another Gay Waterhouse trained horse, Long Shadow. It went from $1.80, we put it up 5-4 on. They returned at $3.50, and it was $4 begging. You couldn't get anybody to have a tray on it at the tray. It was priceless, Long Shadow, and the winner, Masuka, was very well backed. The next race, the favourite, Cloak of the Night, extremely hard to lay. They returned at $2.80. We put it up at $2.40 chance. It got out to $3. Whereas the winner in this race, Best Loved, it was back from $10 into $7, very hard to get. The next race, I must admit, the favourite here at one stage, it was the favourite in the next race. It was also unlayable. That was the first starter ridden by horseman Huey Bowman, Shunabar, and it opened up a 5-4 chance, and it got out to 11-4, $3.70. It was 5-4 to 11-4, unlayable. Who won that race? It was won by Magnetron. I think it was trained by Gay, sat outside the lead, and outside the favourite, and got it on the line. It was very well backed from $8 into $6. The favourite, very, very hard to lay. Well, you couldn't lay it. And then in race 5, again, another Gay Waterhouse trained horse here, Projectile. We put it up a $1.70 chance. It got out to $2.50. Could not write its name. And the winner of this race, Torio's Pride, it was $9 into $7.50, hard to get. And then we had a result, but by the same token, who was favourite in race 6? Favourite in this race was, they backed a few runners in this race, I must admit, and it was a split for the captains. The next race, even though the winner was, it started $17 on my board, She's Angelic, and it was a good winner, came from third last, going in between runners in the straight, grabbing the Gay Waterhouse train Queenstown, who sat outside the lead right on the line. I had a very bad result in this race. It was $17 into 13 at one stage, 16s to 12s, but it was $17 on my board like a fool when they jumped, and I paid the penalty. It was well backed, and the favourite in that race, Romancing to Win, it literally didn't have a price. It went from a $2.30 chance out to $3.30, 11-8 out to 9-4. And in race 8, the winner, Kiola, it was extremely well backed, $8 into $5.50, hard to get. And the last race, Bolero Dancer, well, it was very funny, isn't it? Pack up and go home. The fare went down. The filthy, unwashed, low fare went down in the last race. Well, they didn't know what to do. So you might as well just pack up. And there was very little business done on the last race. And the opening favourite, Prince Rahai, number 1, it went from, it was a $2.40 chance. Now, I was $4.20 when they jumped. I got a remnant out of it. And it led, tried to kick through on the fence. How is it going to win? And it held on very ordinary. You couldn't really lay it. And Bolero Dancer, but as I say, because of the fare, they didn't know what to do, and there was very little business done in the last race. And that was wild. And we went to Canterbury Park last night, but it didn't play parkish. I must admit, the track at Canterbury, there was a spell there. We went there every Friday night, and even a Wednesday and whatever. The fence was on fire. It was a greyhound track. If you went anywhere other than the fence, you found it difficult to win, as I say, for about a good 3 or 4 or 5 meetings down the road a while back. But now this track is starting to play very fair. There were leaders that won. There were runners that got in between them and won, and also came around them. Like the first winner did, it came from last, Rosalie, the favourite in the first race. Well, for a start at Canterbury, the track was a dead 4 upgraded to a good 3. The rail was in the normal position, and there was a northeasterly breeze blowing there, but not enough to affect the any results. The figures all night, they weren't that flash. The first race was most probably the worst race, although race 6, I just had a quick look here. Race 1 at Canterbury, on the screen there was 95.7. So you can imagine what we gave in the marketplace. And in race 6, there was only 96.8 on the screen, and again, there would have been a lot less in the marketplace. And look, the only thing worth commenting, I'd say, about the meeting at Canterbury, there were no real hard luck stories, and when I say outstanding wins, what do you say about this import called Prince Cherie in race 6? They were a fairly a limited bunch that had beat, but it's a striking type, and it was having its first run. It's coming from overseas, from Europe, and it was trapped wide early in the piece, ridden by Jay Ford, and he got it into one out off the fence in third last position down the back, and he waited a long time before he went, but he came very quickly in the straight and rounded them up. He only won by about 3/4 of a length, but it looked like it will improve, and it's the runner out of the meeting that you can most probably say is the horse that will win again. Even the last winner, Centre de Noche, it found the bunny, and it beat the second favourite by about a length, but I'm not too convinced with it. Prince Cherie might win some better races. And then, of course, we came to today's meeting at Warwick Farm, and it was Chipping Norton Stakes Day, and the track was again upgraded from dead to good. The rail was in a normal position. The wind was out of the northeast, and I suppose in the mile races or the distance race, the first race, the leaders did run into it when they were joining the course proper, before they joined the course proper down the side. But steps in time. Well, no, that was down the side. There wasn't in the races where they did run slightly into the wind. The winners did come from behind. The first race today, on the screen, there was only one big discrepancy with the screen and the actual marketplace. I'll get to that later on, and it was a big discrepancy. But in the first race, there wasn't much difference. They said 101.8 on the screen. There was just a little bit less in the marketplace. There was 205, not much, but there was 205 given about the Avery in the first award season, and it's only scraped in given the perfect run by the 3 kilo rider Jay Cassidy. Being facetious, he gave it every possible chance, the pumper, and the second horse here, Tremec, it might have been a bit stiff because it was slow to begin, and then even though it got kicked up on the fence, it used a little bit of juice to get there, and also copped a little bit of a prat in the run, and it was doing better than the favourite on the line after hooking around heels after straightening. And as I say, favourite only beat it by 0.3 of the length, and if it comes out, Tremec, and it lobs into a better position, it might have, it could have easily turned the tables, because the Avery in the first race award season, who went down to Melbourne to try and win a race and got trapped very wide, it was given, as I said, the perfect run by the pumper. The second horse, possibly the best run. The second race, they said there was 100.8 on the screen, just a little bit less in the marketplace. It's nearly spot on. There was only about 99 in the marketplace. And this race was won by Whittington, ridden by Nippy Nash. And Nash, he velodromed. He had a wide alley. He velodromed early, and then he just came across and sat outside the leader. I had a very, very bad result on this race. It was a huge difference to me, even though the second horse was well backed. The winner Whittington, as I say, came across and sat outside In Cahoots, and Va Pensiro, it sat third on the fence, put back into the pocket by Nash when he came across early. Christian Reith looking to get off, but he had to go back to the inside, and sitting on his outside was Scandiva. When they turned for home, Nash was really travelling. They hadn't gone hard in this race. He was able to get a break, and he set up the last couple of strides, but he only won by 0.4 of a length. I've got to have another good look at this race, and you should have no more for the Avery, please. Is that my beautiful Alice? Listen, darling, I'm just right into the middle of doing this review. Can I ring you back straight away? Bye. So we got to in this second race. I'm going to have another good look tomorrow. But in this race, Windjammer, the runner that finished up running fourth, beaten 2.1 lengths. Well, apparently it's missed the kick and copped a bit of a prat at the start, and then copped a good bit of interference in the run, hooking around heels, stumbling before the turn, and it did make up plenty of ground. Its run was very good. The flux in this race, going back to that first race, the Avery award season, we put it up a 5-4 on chance, but as I say, it was reached for, got out to 205 on one board, at least on the fence. It did start fight, but it got back and started its SP. Its opening at price about $1.80, and we only bet the 100. The second race, the winner Whittington went up a $3.50 chance, got out to $4 easy to get, but only started about $3.50 or even $3.40. And as I say, had a very bad result. Well back was the second horse, Va Pensiro. It opened up at $4.60 chance. It was into $4 at one stage, no better, but got out to about $4.40 towards the end of betting. In Cahoots, well backed, it was $13 into about a $8 chance. Windjammer got right out the market. Would have been a great result for the captains. $9 out to about 15. And Havana, a bit hard to lay, although they did take $6.50. You wouldn't see that on the screen. And the others were a little bit hard to lay. The bottom one, Aspen, a bit of money for it. When I say a bit of money, about $18 into 15, extremely well backed. But Nash, as I say, he put himself outside the lead. I own the lead, didn't lead, but outside the lead, and he was able to get that break on the turn when he was travelling very well, and it was just enough to get him home. Run the race again, and it would be around about the same price that we offered, a $4 chance at least. Now the third race came along, and we on the screen there was 102.8, only 100 in the marketplace, and straight away you can see where 2% is, and that's with appearance. There was a mile of $6 appearance, but they said the top fuck was only $5.50, and there was a little bit of difference in the roughies as well. This race was more or less over after they'd gone. It's easy now, isn't it? When they'd gone halfway, it was the judge. He did reach for number 4. He said, "I think this will be getting home," and he slid it halfway. And as they hit the light, he just gave it that nudge, and it went. Number 4 slid into the frame. He picked it a long way out. Even the judge, Nippy Nash, was on board. He drew the outside alley, barrier 7 in the field of 7. He just came across. He got the easy lead from Pear Tart. You know, he established the 3-length lead after they'd only got a couple of furlongs and travelling, which this horse does. And when they turned for home, sitting in 4th position or 3rd position was the second favourite Streamer, who was sitting on the outside of Colorado Clare. But it was obvious Nash didn't stay close to the fence. He was 3 off, turning for home, and he finished in more or less the middle of the track. And it was a very short price to win the race. When they swung for home, it was over. it won by 3 1/4 lengths. Streamer just getting past the runner Pear Tart, who chased the winner Steps in Time all the way. Streamer was a little bit disappointing, but they hadn't gone hard. So then we got to race number 4, and in race 4, on the screen, 100.6 in the marketplace, only a little bit less, maybe a couple of percentages, maybe 98 or something. And this favourite, Under the Sun, it had the blows late in betting. I was $3.30 when they jumped. I suppose if you went $2.90 at one stage or $3, you might have been able to lay it. I found it very difficult. I got very little section out of it. As I say, it went from a $2.40 chance out to $3.30, and it didn't lead. It was Nash said with the 59 kilos and not being able to control the race, which he tried to do after they left the barriers, but coming across was Z-Line and also Is a Babe, number 3, and they were able to cross Nash, and he was 3rd on the fence. Well, that was more or less the end of the favourite, because I Own the Lead needs the lead, and it was going to find it difficult from there. It had every possible chance. This race was won by Lunaire. This runner, of course, it was a huge result for the captains. This runner literally didn't have a price. I think it might have been returned about a $19 chance. I was 21 when they jumped. I did lay some section against it, but it was a result. It was very hard to gauge how to put a price against this horse. It had the one run since coming from Europe, where it had been racing in France, which was at Warwick Farm last week on the 23rd of February, and on the very, very heavy track behind Havana Ray in the last race. It got beat 31 odd point lengths. That's nothing really. We all know the wet track, when it's a very, very heavy track, horses can get beat a long way, and it doesn't explain their true form. But this horse, it was a very strong win, I should say, today. It settled down in last position, and leading in the race, as I said, was Z-Line. When they turned for home, horseman Huey Bowman aboard Lunaire, it was in front of him on the fence, the second horse, Mr. Edison, who has got that, we all know, short, very sprint. It's only got the short, it's got a turn of foot, but it doesn't last very long. And he was able to follow it through and then get inside it and nudge Killer Kath out of the way, and went away and won the race by a length and a half. And it was 3 and about a quarter, a little bit more lengths away to the third horse, Is a Babe, who sat second, as I said. And it was a very strong win. The stablemate of the winner, it was extremely well backed, Eaglestein, who was copped the very bad check, another import, who copped the very bad check having his first start here last night at Warwick Farm. But unfortunately, the pumper aboard, it got trapped through, missed the kick slightly, and it was trapped wide in the run, and it finished up running last. It was beaten 6.2 lengths. The winner, as I say, it seemed to be very strong on the line. Race 5, there was a 105.1 on the screen, and only a little bit less in the marketplace, only about 102. Where this race was no good was it was impossible to lay. Well, I found it that way, to lay number 1, Midsummer Music. I don't know what the SP was, but I was $9.50 when they jumped, and I cracked it for 4 bob. It opened up a a $6.50 chance, $6 chance, and got out to, as I say, as much as $9.50. And it ran accordingly. Well, it finished up running fourth, sitting outside the lead. Its run wasn't bad. They never went. This was the Liverpool City Cup, there was very little pace in this race, as it turned out. It led on the fence. Sky Rush, or did it? No, I might be. Riva de Largo was back third on the fence. There was something inside, or no, it might have actually led Sky Rush, but he was off the fence, ridden by Bold Blake Shin, and on its outside was Midsummer Music. Got trapped 3 wide in the run, Famous Seamus, not being able to cross early. I thought Miss Robin Freeman Key should have kept on going early, but she didn't, and trapped wide and outside it. There was that's right, Raspberries, and then it was trapped 4 wide. Raspberries was sitting third, and 4 wide was Famous Seamus. And when they turned for home, the winner was off the fence, and Riva de Largo, which was tagging it from barrier 1 all the way, got straight up inside Sky Rush, and at least joined Sky Rush after they'd straightened. But Sky Rush was a little bit too strong for Riva de Largo, and it beat it by 0.2 of a length on the line, and coming from last, straight along the fence from, as I say, from last was Bagman, who was very well back late from after opening up a 12-to-1 chance, got out to $15 and $16, and came back into only about a $11 chance, but it was beaten 2 lengths. There was only 5 lengths between first and second, which I suppose is a fairly big margin. There were only 10 runners, but as I say, there wasn't much pace in this race, and the winner was right up near the lead all the way, and held his position right down to the winning post. Did Scream Machine, it drew the outside alley. It might have got trapped wide in the run as well. Then we got to race 6, and there's a little bit of difference in the fluck. 103.5 on the screen, and maybe just a tick under in the marketplace, about 99. You wouldn't have seen it, but there was $5 given about the winner shootout. Admittedly, it was in the outside ring, but there was plenty of $4.80 on the fence, and it started only $4, and it was able to get there on the line. Manigar, number 1, it was extremely well backed. It opened up $6, reached for, I like a fool, along with a couple of other fools, we gave as much as $8.50 about Manigar. It only started $5.50, and it there were 12 runners. It drew the outside alley, barrier 12, and unfortunately from that alley, Jovial Josh Parr was trapped 3 wide all the way back in the field, and it finished up running second last, beaten about 7.7 lengths. It was resuming today, and most probably wasn't ready, but the fluctuations didn't suggest that, because it, as I say, was extremely well backed. Along with the favourite Shootout, there was a good bit of betting time here between races. Shootout, we put it up a $3.60 chance, but as I say, it was reached for as much as $5 given, but it only started a started the $4 favourite, and came from about 4th last position, going between runners after straightening for home, and grabbing the 50 to 1 into 30 to 1 chance, Monton right on the line. Of course, Monton, similarly to the import earlier on, who got beat a long way on the bog track at Warwick Farm last start, Monton was in that category. He apparently, well, Monton doesn't handle it, and he got beat a long way, but he set up in 4th position today, and when they turned for home, Havana Ray is stuck on all right, going up, stepping up in grade today. it led from King Mufasa, who went fairly ordinary. It dropped out. Sitting third was Cant.8 Gold. It dropped out and ran. How was it only $10.9 Cant.8 Gold? It's easy now. Monton sat in about fourth or fifth position, as I say, and got past those leaders, turning for home, and he looked like he was going to win, but right on the line came a horseman, Huey Bowman, to put his nose out and win by 0.1 of a length. And coming from second last was his stablemate, that's Dan Lee, and it was only beaten 0.6 of a length. And of course the New Zealand runner, Silent Achiever, who had his chance, drew barrier 1. He was also back in the field. He might have been inside Shootout, who drew barrier 2 in the run. He was, and he got an uninterrupted run when they turned for home. The winner Shootout sprinted a bit better than he did. He ran fourth, beaten 1.1 lengths, having his chance. And Vanneray held on for fifth, beaten 1.8. It got trapped wide in the run, Collini, and all of the others more or less had their chance. The winner was a little bit too good. We got to race 7, and where's this race where there's a big discrepancy? Oh yes, it's the last. In the 7th race, there was 108 on the screen, fat. This is the surround stakes for the 3-year-old fillies, and in the marketplace we got about 106, and I suppose well, besides Campania and also Cameo, both were $151. There wasn't a Zac for either of those, but all of the other runners were backed, including the bottom one, Song and Laughter. And this race was won by Dear Demi, ridden by the Pumper, and he sat midfield in between runners, turned for home, was able to get off their heels very easily, and raced up to Dre Fontaine, who sat third on the fence. It led Song and Laughter on its outside Longport. Nippy Nash on Dre Fontaine from barrier 2 was directly behind them, and when they turned for home was able to get in between them very easily, get clear. But the Pumper had moved up, and you could see he was travelling very well on Dear Demi, and he was a little bit too strong for the rather small Dre Fontaine, and beat it by 0.3 of a length on the line. The Avery in this race, Bonetta, well, it's funny with the alley. Look, he shouldn't make excuses here, I suppose. He was trapped wide early, and Jay McDonald trapped wide early, and instead of going forward, which I think he did, he most certainly did the right. If he would have gone forward, he wouldn't have won. He would have been still trapped 3 wide. So he went back, and then he did find cover. He got on the back of Impetuous, and when they turned for home, he pulled out. Impetuous had dropped off, and he was just only a length behind the winner, Dear Demi, but Dear Demi was travelling, and it finished up running 5th, the favourite Bonetta. Maybe she might have had enough. I don't know, but anyway, she finished up running 5th, beaten 4.4 lengths. Bit disappointing, and the winner, having a second run today from a spell, was a fairly good run, and all she will do now is improve. Then we came to the last race, and this was where the big discrepancy was fluck-wise. Now they said there was 107.2 on the screen. Now these were the flucks. Number 1 Title opened up a $16 chance. I bet as much as $41. It did start 31 on my board. See the World went from a $15 chance. I was $18 when they jumped. I think the top fluck was only 15. Uarte, the top fluck is $6. I bet $6.50 for a good bit of section after opening up a $5 chance. Just Cruisin', I didn't want to miss it. I gave as much as $31. It went from 17 out to 31, back into 26 hard to get. Now, Emotional Circus, it went from a $3.50 chance out to $4.20. The $4 disappeared at one stage. It was into $3.90. You couldn't get. I never ever wound the $4 off. I might have, like a fool, at one stage to tell a fib, but I was $4 thinking I was going to be able to lay it towards the death. I said the pros will come here for sure, but I was half left with it, and it got, as I say, from $3.50 out to $4.20 back into $4. Social Rank, it was 16 out to 26 back into 21. Now aerobatics, it was $11 out to $14 back into $10. Didn't cost a lot. Unfortunately, one captain on the fence gave as much as $6 about the winner. That might have been an isolated case, but it was $4.40 out to $6 given on the fence. But plenty of $5 started $4.60 on my board, or at least $4.40. And New Beginning, it was well back from $12 into only $8.50 hard to get. Harara, didn't want to miss it. I gave as much as $17 for a good bit of section. Started 16 on my board. And Kiranada was 51 out to $71. A lot less than the 107.2. I got to say, there might have only been about 95%. But anyway, this race, Social Rank was the designated leader. It went straight to the lead. Sitting on its outside, it crossed from barrier 8, found the fence. Coming from barrier 1, Harara, ridden by the pumper, was able to get up on its outside, and half carting outside the pair was the winner. Didn't cost a lot, ridden by Father Schofield, and when they turned for home, they got past Social Rank, who was resuming from a bleeding attack last start. They got clear of the others, and it was quite evident that they were going to fight it out after flattening out, and both of them hung out under pressure in the straight, finishing well, at least in the middle of the track, and the margin being 0.2 of a length when they hit the line. I don't think Arara is much good, and didn't cost a lot, struggled to beat it. So maybe the form out of this race isn't too good. Of course, Emotional Circus, it was always going to be well back. It's had a change of stables, trained now by Chris Lees. It settled well back in third last position. It did find the line very well, beaten 2.6 and running to fourth hole. And after getting a good run midfield, its stablemate, Uarte, it went along the fence and around runners, had every possible chance. It ran third, beaten 2 lengths. That was about that race. The pace, even though Social Rank, he didn't fly as he generally does, and most probably wasn't anywhere fit enough today, so he gave in easily. And as I say, the first and second were able to get past him and put the race and had the race between them after they had straightened. That was about the meeting. There were quite a few more people there today. I'd say not only because we had a couple of good group races, and it was Chipping Norton Stakes Day. Apparently the auditorium was closed. A lot of the eastern suburbs people, they don't like travelling to Warwick Farm, and the auditorium was closed because apparently there was a rock concert on at Randwick, and a lot of those punters fancy going. Well, there's no good be something. How could you go to the auditorium? But anyway, that was about the week, the last 4 days. Anyway, hope you had some luck, and we'll talk to you next week. Good evening.